Live now. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Q&A with Alan. Can anyone just write a comment that you can hear me and hear what I'm saying? Just so we're sure that everything is good. I'll just. Yes, I think we're live, Alan. All right, welcome to this Q&A with Alan. Alan will just kick it off with a few slides, primarily on the financing that's been happening in the last few weeks, and then we'll go directly to your questions afterwards. So please just put your questions in the live comment section, and then we'll take them after Alan's short presentation. So Alan, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Mikhail. Thanks everybody for logging on. I've got a few slides. As per normal here, I've done a few slides specifically for this group. This is a little bit different because I've broken it into two pieces. So I want to talk about the financing. You've seen a couple of press releases in the last couple of weeks about financing. I know some of you got some questions. And then the second part is about, how we've advanced on the project itself. So I think what if it's okay with everybody, what I'd like to do is just talk about the financing, then take some questions on the financing, and then have a quick whiz through what's happened since the 3rd of March on site, because obviously there's quite a lot happened since then, and then we can have a second set round of questions if there's time. So look, so what is happening with the financing? I think some of you, I suspect, are perhaps a little bit confused. Obviously, I put this question up, which is a question some of you may have. Why have we announced a $3 million private placement yesterday, just 2 weeks after announcing a prospectus-backed offering for $5 million? Look, the prospectus-backed deal involved is backed by a technical report which is subject to the review of regulators. In fact, the prospectus itself is subject to the review of regulators. So we've submitted that. We believe that we had good grounds and a good rationale that we would not need to update the resource in the 43-101 technical report, and they've said, yes, you do. That's taken us by surprise. And so obviously that's a bit of a process. We weren't planning on doing that until the end of the year. In fact, we'll probably still do it again at the end of the year, but we're going to need a few weeks to do it. Obviously, you guys are aware that we're obviously spending money as the days pass by. And given that the closing of that prospectus-backed deal is going to take longer than anticipated, in the interest of time, we've elected to move forward with a private placement, which we announced yesterday. There's been a really good response to that, and I should have some good news on that in the next few days. But that will allow us to close the deal much faster than the prospectus-backed deal. The other great thing for those of you that don't have a Canadian brokerage account is you can participate. So you can just let me know. I'll send you a sub-agreement, and then you can just wire us the funds if you do have any interest. Like I said, there's been really good response to it. So that begs the question. I think some people are looking at that as well. Why have you announced a $3 million private placement, which is obviously $2 million less than the $5 million, the prospectus-backed offering? It was purely a speed thing. The $5 million offering is still out there. We haven't cancelled it. There's a lot of good interest in the $5 million offering as well. Now, the reason we've kept that live is because some of the large institutional investors will only invest through a broker. They won't do private placements. They do it through a broker. There is a significant amount of interest there, but some of these institutions will undoubtedly wait for the prospectus-backed offering. And between now and the next 4 weeks or so, obviously not only are we going to have an updated technical report with an updated resource, obviously that won't be as complete as it will be by the end of the year, because we won't have done all the drilling. But that is a significant catalyst that hopefully will impact the appetite for the prospectus-backed deal. And the other thing, of course, that's imminent now, should only be a matter of a few days, is the metallurgical results that we're waiting for, that we've been waiting for quite some time on the oxide material. So it's not a case of the $5 million offering being a failure at all. It's the only reason we've done a smaller private placement is just for speed, more than anything. Now, in the meantime, as you guys know, I've loaned the company money. The financing process has obviously taken us longer than we anticipated, partly and large part as a result of market conditions, but obviously the feedback that we had on the prospectus from the regulators was a bit of a surprise. But as you guys, I think, appreciate, I am the largest shareholder in the company, and I think the fact that I'm loaning the company money through this process, and I'm obviously a friendly, how shall I put it, a friendly creditor, should tell you guys that I'm on the same page as you, because I'm also those of you that are shareholders in this company, and I'm absolutely 110% committed to the success of this company. So look, I'd say the private placement is going very well. We only announced it yesterday, but extremely good appetite when Mikkel and I were just discussing. A few other questions I thought I'd throw on the table. Some of you may have, and I know you're going to have some more, so we'll get through these pretty quick. What's going on? We've been knocking out all these fantastic drill results. Where's the share price gone down? Well, I regret to say that the principal reason, if not the main reason, in my view, is because of the market in general. And it just basically reflects a reduced investor appetite for risk. And I certainly am thinking harder about my riskier investments, and I'm sure most of you guys are, as we all are. Why did we not raise more money when the stock was at higher levels? Well, hindsight's a wonderful thing to have, isn't it, guys? But look, I think most people in our industry assumed that when the gold price started to move up, and in view of the situation in Ukraine, higher inflation numbers, that because bullion price was moving up, then share prices would move up like it usually does. That has not happened. And I think that relates to point number one, which is the reduced appetite for risk. Well, at least it hasn't happened yet. And as I've said to you guys in the past, that does create a significant opportunity, because the fundamentals of this company are still the same. Are we participating? Am I participating in the current raise? Yes, I'll be writing a 6-figure check. I don't know how big it's going to be. So far, 3 of the 5 directors have committed, and several members of the management team too. And so finally, I guess some of you are asking yourself, well, the stock's declined. You may have bought it at higher levels. By the way, this is still a double if you bought it in 2019. It's 150% more than it was in 2020, or the reverse, because we did a 12.5-cent raise and a 15-cent raise. Can't exactly remember when we did them, but obviously we're at 30 cents. For those of you who bought at high levels, it's obviously a disappointing. But as Rick Rule was saying last week, and I was in Zurich last week at a conference and caught his talk, he said, look, for him, his average timeline with the companies where he's made 10 times his money is 5 to 6 years. I wish the timelines were shorter, but the point he did make is you need to take advantage of when everybody else is selling, when there's a lot of negativity around the market, then you have to have a reasonable time frame. That's his view. And I tend to agree with that. But look, again, the fundamental reasons for owning this particular stock remain unchanged. Namely, we're right next door to this massive development project at G Mining, at TZ, and they put out an update last week in terms of how they're progressing on that. That will be Brazil's 3rd largest gold mine. We have a resource that was last updated in June 2018, which is now in the process of being updated as part of this updated technical report in the next 4 weeks. District scale potential is still unchanged, guys. It's still the same. In fact, if anything, it's improving. It looks even better than it did, a few months ago. We've got a lot of drill results pending. We have dropped a couple of rigs to conserve cash. I don't think you can be completely immune to what's happening you can't be completely immune to what's happening in the market and how hard it is right now to raise money when you've got no cash flow. The met work on the oxide material is imminent, as I said. I talked about my management ownership, my ongoing commitment to this company, but most importantly, the accelerated timeline for the technical report, this update that we've got to do for the regulators, will result in an acceleration of the timeline for the PEA on the oxide blanket material. So the guidance we put out a couple of weeks ago was that we would commence the PEA in the fourth quarter. That is likely to change and move up. Right. So I'll leave it there. Questions on the financing, Mikkel? Let's get straight to it.
Yeah, I have a question. If the interest in the private placement exceeds 3 million and you can raise like 5 million through the private placement, would you consider then just cancelling the prospectus deal, or are you actually keen on updating the technical report now, or how is it?
Look, we'll certainly take more money in the private placement, and it looks like there is more interest than 3 on the private placement, so we'll take it up to a certain level. It's not quite so simple as cancelling the updated technical report. We've submitted something called an AIF, which is an annual information form. Once you've submitted the AIF, regardless of whether or not you do move forward with the prospectus offering, you have to update the technical report. So we've got an obligation to update the technical report here. So the technical report will get updated, but yeah, I mean, if there was $5 million in terms of the private placement, we wouldn't need the prospectus backed offering, and there may well be that kind of interest out there. I don't know yet. Good question.
Okay, and when you're going to update the technical report and the resource as well, will that be include all the drilling you've done so far, or? No. Only some of it, or how does it work, like specifically?
I thought I'd put in here. No, I haven't put it in. Look, in the press release from 2 weeks ago, there's a little bit of guidance about the updated technical report and the updated resource. So at MG, we'll have a completely new resource there. And that should have that high-grade component wired out. We're doing the wireframe models right now. As you guys know, we started the infill drilling at MG early, and we've had some amazing success at MG. We're not completely finished with the drilling at MG because we'd like to drill a few more deeper holes. So the resource is likely, if we can keep drilling, depending on how much money we raise, if we can keep the drills turning at MG, we should have I think the MG resource will continue to grow between the technical report we're doing now, which is due in 4 weeks, and the end of the year. There will be an updated resource for Cabral, even though we have done less additional drilling at Cabral, but it'll be based on obviously a much higher gold price. The wireframe models will be modified according to the amount of drilling that we've done to date. It's not enough to define a high-grade component. I doubt whether we'll have a high-grade component at Central. But, as I said, the resource was done back in 2018 at $1,400 gold. So that mere fact, and that, guys, obviously dictates, cutoffs and things like that. And so and that also feeds into how much gold actually sits in your mineable block. So MG and Central, although they're both going to grow over the next few months. Mashishi, we're hoping to have something. I can't tell you definitively one way or the other whether or not we'll have a resource in the Mashishi on Mashishi, but Mashishi is looking very, very good, and we'll talk about Mashishi in a bit. I mean, it's looking even better than it did back in March when we last chatted. We will have some sort of idea on the size of the blankets at MG and Central. And hopefully, again, I can't say 100%, but hopefully a preliminary idea of the size of the blanket at PDM. So it's because there are several deposits here and they've got various amounts of drilling. Some of them are a bit of a moving target, Mikhail. It's obviously caught us by surprise. And some of these deposits we've got a much more accurate view on than others.
Okay, so just so I understand it completely, you're gonna update the technical report and update the resource in 4 weeks, and then you're gonna do it again at the end of the year, as has been the plan throughout the last.
That is the plan, contingent on how much money we raise. Obviously, if there's not a lot of appetite beyond 3 million. We may have to delay that because it obviously impacts our ability. The amount of money we raise obviously impacts our ability to keep all the rigs turning. So, but that's currently the plan. Yeah, update it at the end of the year.
Okay. And I have a question from Martin here. Is the workload as a geologist too much for you to be able to function as an optimal business-minded CEO of the company, and/or have you and the board considered to take in a new CEO for the purpose of only keeping you focused on the geology?
Is that a polite way of saying we hate what you're doing? I'm sure some of you do. Look, I'm not focused on the geology. That's not my job. I've got two guys, namely Mark Smith, my chairman, who is based in Toronto, but he spends a lot of time working on this, most of his time, virtually all his time, logging core remotely. And right now he's buried in his basement doing wireframe models. But Mark's an excellent geologist. I can do geology as well as everybody else, as you guys know. I've got a PhD in this type of gold deposit, but that's not my role here. So my time is not spent doing geology. Well, I've got Mark. I've also got a guy called Willie Hughes, who is our VP Exploration, who's an excellent geologist. And so, no, we haven't considered taking anybody else on. I mean, I don't want to be adding to the cash burn or the fixed costs right now. Look, we're all extremely busy. Obviously, when the market is like it is right now, it does create certain pressures and stresses. But we've all been here before. We've got a lot at stake, particularly myself, and we're serious-minded individuals. So, no, we're not currently looking at taking anybody else on. I mean, if you're shareholders, you can vote me out, I suppose. I'll be voting for myself most likely, but feel free.
Okay, and I have...
I'm joking, by the way.
Yeah.
I hope.
I have another question from Eric. How much does it cost to update the RE, and will this not just increase the cash burn? Do you have plans to add additional rigs when the financing is done?
Yeah, no, we're not planning on, given the current market conditions, we're not planning on adding those rigs back. I mean, as I said, we've let 2 of the 5 rigs go. I'm hoping that will be a temporary basis, but there's so much market turmoil right now. I mean, yes, there's a cost to updating the resource estimate, but it's nothing compared with the drilling. It's not millions of dollars or anything like that. And it's something that we previously budgeted for. We've just brought it forward. So the money that we're raising right now will allow us to do that. So there are some limits, guys, in terms of how aggressive you can be. And you can't be sort of, I think some people think that you should be completely blinkered in terms of what's happening in the market, and you should blindly carry on drilling like there's no tomorrow. Well, you can't do that when your access to capital is changing on a weekly basis. It's just you've got to be mindful, and unfortunately plans do change. Having said all that, don't forget there's a lot of drill results pending, an awful lot of drill results pending. And so I think the normal flow in terms of the news flow, in terms of drill results, should resume here pretty quick. So I'm expecting to get a bunch of results next week. So we'll see. So,
but I guess you're not allowed to release drill results while the prospectus deal is pending, right?
Not if they're material, and not if they'd be considered material, Mikhail. So that's something that we have to think about carefully. I mean, look, I think there's a strong argument to be made that we've put out some amazing drill results, but they have had no material impact on the stock in recent months. So, we will look at that. So, but I don't think you could necessarily draw the conclusion that we can't put any good news out. We also have a fiduciary obligation to put news out as it comes up.
Yeah, and Eric is asking specifically to the network. I would assume that's quite material information, but it could be announced before the closing of the prospectus, or.
Yeah, that is important, and we'll take some advice on that once we get the results back. But if we need to modify the prospectus in order to get that news out, we'll do that.
Okay, that sounds good. And just a part of Eric's first question was in terms of how costly it is to update the resource, and who to get to help you doing that.
Well, we've already engaged a Toronto-based engineering firm called SLR. They've got a number of offices based in North America. I don't know if they're in Europe and Australia. I'm not sure, but SLR is an established firm with a lot of depth, and we've known some of the key individuals there. They used to be called Roscoe Postle, so that may ring a bell with some of you guys. Anyway, we've been talking to them for a while. We've engaged with them. The cost, I can't actually give you a cost, but like I said, it's not an exorbitant amount. I mean, yes, it requires work on their part, but the big cost with that is with updating the resources is actually doing the basic drilling. And as you guys know, we've done an awful lot of drilling since the last resource estimate in June 2018. So I can't give you the exact number though.
All right, and I have another question from Roni. How many more fundraisers should we expect? Before going into production, hopefully with the blankets. I mean, it's might be difficult to answer, but could you estimate or give us some kind of estimate on that?
Very, very few. Look, if the MET results on this blanket material is positive, as I said, we will accelerate the PEA and hopefully get that done in the next few months. We're already having preliminary discussions about potential funding partners for that. But of course, we don't have any numbers yet, so we don't know what the capital cost is going to be, and we don't know what the operating costs are going to be. But as I said last time, and I think the time prior to that, our objective here is to get those things, advance those things to a construction decision as fast as we possibly can, because we know that other similar types of operations are highly, highly profitable. And so if we can do that, I don't want to be diluting this stock any more than I possibly have to. Remember, guys, I'm a very big shareholder in this company, and I've got an awful lot of my money, in fact, virtually all of it, at stake, and my wife's money, by the way, and my friend's money, and your money. The point in mentioning that is we've had all these amazing drill results, and the stock is down from where it was a year ago, as is everybody else's virtually. That's no excuse. I'm not making an excuse, but that, whilst we can control how many holes we drill, where we drill them, we can't control what results we get, but we've got some excellent results. We can't control what's happening in the broader market. And the soul destroying thing for a CEO like me that's running a junior explorer like this is, it's soul destroying, to be honest, to see the share price much lower than it was just a year ago, given how much success we've had on the project. Now, the sooner that we're not dependent on going back to the market for funding through equity, the better. So that's why we're really fast tracking this this sort of oxide material. I'm very, very keen to demonstrate the economic viability of those oxide blankets as fast as we possibly can.
All right, and another question from Eric. What is the monthly cash burn with 3 rigs? Last financing was 10 million, if I remember correctly. This looks to be to only bring in 8 million. Does this mean another financing is coming in like 6 to 8 months?
Most likely another financing will come from 6 to 8 months, but I'm hoping that we will know what the economic viability of those blankets is then. So like I said, again, I'm going to tell you guys that we want to avoid future equity financings and further dilution of this stock as fast and rapidly as we possibly can. The monthly burn is being adjusted right now, so I can't give you an exact number, but we're reducing it. We're looking at everything right now. So, it's unfortunate we've had to make a few changes and lay 1 or 2 people off. I'm hoping it's temporary, but these are very, very tough times for everybody, right? Not just in our industry, but tough times.
Yeah. And a question from Martin. If Medworks come back negative, what funds will be needed for the next 2 to 3 years?
Well, if the network comes back negative on the oxide material, all is not lost, because what we're doing in parallel, so that there's actually 2 sets of MET studies going on. One is on the heap leach stuff, which we'll get back here pretty quickly here in the next few days. The other one, what we've also done is we've sent some samples for gravitational recovery studies, other metallurgical studies, which would see us, if this material is not amenable to heap leach, it is most likely going to be amenable to recovery through gravity, and potentially, maybe we would need CIL as well. Don't forget it's oxide material, so it's all been weathered. So it's going to be very easy to process this material. We're not going to need to grind it like we would if it was hard material, hard rock. It's not rock, it's soft weathered mud for the large part. So we will know, we'll also know how amenable this would be to sort of gravitational separation, which is also pretty cheap. It's not as cheap as heap leach. You do need to crush it, and then you do need to pass it over some sort of gravitational recovery circuit, and then the fines may need further processing through a CIL plant. But whilst the cost is more, capital cost is obviously going to be more than a heap leach, it's not going to be, again, similar sorts of operations. The capital costs are not, exorbitantly high. So we do have a plan B, but let's wait and see. Let's wait and see, guys. I think on the network, we've released the bottle roll tests where the stuff is rolling around in a bottle. It's not like what would happen to a leach, where you just put it on a heap and then you leach it. But the bottle roll tests are an interesting indication, and the bottle roll tests were very encouraging, 93 to 97% recovery. So let's wait and see for the heap leach results. But if not, I'm optimistic that we'll be able to recover this gold through gravity separation.
Okay, and another one from Eric. Not sure if Alan is able to speak on this, but has there been any interest in financing from players involved with G mining?
I can't really comment on that. I mean, we have a discussion. G mining's trying to finance its $450 million project, so they I'm sure have got their own issues, and they won't be immune to the current market conditions, and they've committed to some of the long lead items, as I understand it, ball mills and big earth moving equipment. They did put out an update last week. Just go to the website and you'll see they've hired a lot of people. They're building a big camp, and so they are doing a lot of work on site. But I can't really comment on discussions with individual companies. Sorry, guys.
All right, thanks, Alan. There's no more questions right now on the financing, so maybe we should move on. This meeting is hosted through Zoom, and for some reason I have a 40-minute timeline, so I can only host meetings for 40 minutes because I'm not upgraded. That's usually not the case. But
I tell you what, Mikhail, maybe next time I'll do it. So no problem. I only need 10 minutes for this, guys.
So,
and if anybody, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, just please continue.
Okay. Look, and if anybody does have any burning questions, you just email me, right? Just send me an email. I'll get right back to you. My email's on all the press releases, so it's alan@cabralgold.com. So feel free to vent whatever. Look, everybody's got an opinion. So anyway, look. So what is happening with the oxide blankets? I think we've probably covered this, we covered this, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time. As I said, those
Alan, actually, there's a few more questions, if it's okay. Just coming from Martin. How much is the process cost difference between heap leach and gravity in a percentage term?
Martin, lots of good questions here. I mean, I'm reluctant to give you a firm number. You need more equipment. I'm guessing it would be 30% plus in terms of cost, but it is really a guess.
Okay.
Is that it? Anything else?
Yes, a question from Eric. He's asking in regard to the cutoff grades in the new technical report, if you've mentioned those. So, but what are your expectations? Will they, hopefully they won't be the same as the last time?
No, I think they'll be lower, particularly this, the oxide material on surface. I think they'll be very low. And the underlying open pittable hard rock material obviously be higher because it's going to be deeper and harder to, requires drilling and blasting. So, the G mining's cutoff and our last cutoff was, I think, the same, 0.35. I think the oxide material will be considerably lower than that, much lower. Our open pit cutoff for the hard rock material, I would think, might be a bit lower than that. I just don't know, not yet.
Okay, I think that's that for the question. So if you will close up shop here for the last 5 minutes. And then we'll let you get on.
Okay, great. So look, we talked about the met stuff. That is going to be a key thing here in the next few days. We are doing infill drilling. Our little RC rig is infill drilling at PDM, further defining the high grade core of the PDM blanket. And we talked about resource estimates at MG and Central. We got more since 3rd of March, when we last chatted. We've got more high-grade numbers from the MG gold deposit. There's a beautiful high-grade zone emerging, or has emerged at MG. You can see some of the core there. That's what it looks like. That particular section we drilled since we last spoke, 2.6 meters at 28.9 grams. But we've also drilled 17.5 meters at 4 grams, including there was a narrower, higher-grade section there, which I can't remember what it was. But anyway, you need to go back to the press release, guys. Similarly, there's another one at Central. Recent results at Central, you saw those on the 5th of May, 9.6 meters at 16 grams, including 1.2 meters at 112 grams and 2.1 at 11. Stock didn't move, but there is a beautiful high-grade zone emerging from Central too. And that's the same zone that we drilled in February, 23.8 meters at 5.5. So there's a beautiful high-grade zone there. There's a distinct high-grade corridor there. We've traced it so far 100 meters along strike, and these things continue at depth. We've traced it down 350 meters. Mashishi. Now, Mashishi just is surprising us. This is the most, this hole over here is the most westerly drill hole. We stepped out 285 meters. This is 2 or 3 months ago, and we've cut the zone here. Now we've got another zone that's emerging up here. We've just trenched 38.6 meters at 0.7. So what that is, we have no idea. We think that's very, very significant. That doesn't sound like very high grade, but it's at surface in oxide material, guys. So we have a rig at Mashishi. I'm hoping that we will have a maiden resource later this year, but I put in here, in the next few weeks, but I put in here end of the year because as I said, I'm not sure. we've had some drill holes. We had some great additional drill holes at PDM. We've got this high grade zone under the blanket. It's a new deposit. We're not going to have enough drill results here to define a resource here, at least not this year, not with the current downturn. We've had to let the rig go, but we drilled 18 meters at 2.5 grams and 8 meters at 6.7. So there's a very nice continuous zone coming through here. We think which may step off and then continue to the north here. So what sort of catalysts? I've got 2 minutes, 20 seconds left. Obviously, closing the private placement. We're hoping to have that done within 2 weeks at the outside. The met work we talked about. Obviously, there's lots of diamond results pending on Central MG and Mashishi. Updated 43101 report, we talked about that. And hopefully, again, closing of the prospectus-backed financing. So that's it, guys. So I've got 2 minutes left. Is there any other questions?
No, there isn't.
Okay, look, thanks everybody. Thanks for taking the time to log on. And as I said, if anybody does have any questions after the fact, then feel free to email me. Mikhail and I keep in regular touch too, so if you can't get hold of me, please give Mikhail a nudge, and I'm sure he will get hold of me. So yeah. Okay, thanks everybody.
All right, thank you, Alan.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.